From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for Open Line tonight. Tonight's topic is one that I hope that you will call in about, you will ask your questions, make a comment about. We are talking about the school voucher program. It's something that has been in the news quite often, especially now, but it's been in the news over several years. So hopefully we have the guys here that can answer all of your questions. Let me introduce you to tonight's guests. We have two representatives with us. First of all, we have Representative Craig Fitzhugh, a Democrat from Ripley,
That's right.
Also the minority leader in the House, and Representative Bill Dunn, the sponsor of this bill, a Republican from Knoxville. Gentlemen, thank you for being with me today.
Thank you.
As we were talking before the show, this school voucher program has been talked about for a long time now, what, 4 or 5 times in the legislature?
Right.
Yet to pass. But Representative Dunn, I want you to tell me what this bill is that you're proposing now. Explain it for me.
Well, this is a bill to help children, and that's why it's very disappointing that for 4 or 5 years the legislature keeps holding it up, because there are kids in need, and this is a way to help them. I think the best way to describe the bill is perhaps to think in higher education we have what's called the Hope Scholarship. And how does that work? The state gives public dollars to families, to students, and we say, you decide where you will do best, where you need to go. And so the voucher program that we have works the same way. We allow families to take the money and decide where will their child do best. And then we let the family decide that, and then the child can succeed when they're put in the right environment.
This bill cleared a big hurdle last Wednesday. Tell me what it cleared and then where it's headed right now.
Well, it was in the House Finance Committee subcommittee, and it was there, and the governor has included this language in the budget. In fact, we probably need to point out that Governor Haslam, as part of his movement to improve the education here in Tennessee, he was the one who got the people together to craft this bill. And Tennessee is doing great in education. We're the fastest improving state at this time, in fact, for 3 years. And what the governor saw was that there are some schools that we're not giving up on. We've got to turn them around. But while we're waiting for that to happen, it's not fair to the children who are in a school where over 50% of the children never graduate, to be in a school where 97% of the children are not proficient, to be in a school where the ACT score is 14. A test score of 14. And so what Governor Haslam said we should do is that we come up with a way that a child who's in a failing school and on a path to failure, this would give them an opportunity for success, to get in a different environment, to have a better chance. Because if we don't do it at this time, it'll be too late.
There are a lot of different stipulations of how this would work. I do want to hear from you, Representative Fitzhugh, about why you don't like this idea.
Well, there are a few reasons. For our state particularly, it has to do with the financial concern that I have. Although we are improving in our performance, we're not doing very good in our spending for education. We're somewhere 47th in the country for education spending. And when you have a finite pot of money for public education and you withdraw some of that and move it over to a private school, that pot becomes smaller, but the responsibilities of the school system don't lessen. So I think it is not a good thing for public education, and I don't think it's a good thing for the children that are going to the private schools. There is an assumption made that just because they go to a private school, that is a better education than they will get in public schools. And we've not determined that yet. I think statistics have shown that throughout the nation, it's not turned out that way. And this particular bill that Representative Dunn does not have the same safeguards in it for us to find out. So those are the two main concerns that I have with the bill.
I'm glad we have an hour to dissect all of this and talk about the pros and cons, but I also want to get to our callers tonight because I do enjoy your questions and your comments. Karen is on the line. Karen, thank you for being with us. What do you have to say?
Yes. I believe that the concept of vouchers is anti-public schools, and let me tell you why. If these people who are backing the vouchers really were interested in improving the education of children, what they would do is invest in the public schools vouchers really are doing is dismantling public education little by little. And it's hypocritical, too, also, because what they're doing also is they're taking public dollars to pay for private schools, because that's basically like the for-profit schools. That's kind of what voucher, the charter schools are. It's kind of like undercover for-profit schools that use public money. And so I think it's just a bad idea all around. Thanks for...
All right, Karen, thank you for being with us tonight. We appreciate your question. Representative Dunn, what do you say to that you're hurting public education by this?
Well, I think what you have to say is, what is the priority? Why do taxpayers pay tax dollars? They do it for the children. They do it for the children. And I think in this argument, it will break down that people who are opposed to it, they'll argue public schools, public schools. I think those who are for the vouchers will argue children are in need, children in need. And I think that when you have those two competing, you always put the child first. You always, our public schools will be okay. I guarantee you, they will be okay. The adults in them will be okay. But the children who are in a failing school, who aren't going to graduate, who aren't going to learn to read, they're not going to be okay. And we have invested in education. We have done reforms that have helped lead Tennessee to be the top in the nation. And many of the same groups that are fighting this idea fought the other reforms that we had that moved us forward. So it's not surprising. Some people want to just be in control of the money. I want to be in control of making sure the kids get an education.
By the way, if you would like to call in, the number is on the screen. We'd love to hear from you, whether you have a call or a comment. While we wait for your calls, I do want to ask you, Representative Dunn, explain to me who qualifies under your bill for a voucher.
Right. The way the bill operates is, first of all, the school would have to be in the bottom 5%. The bottom 5%, and the kids would have to be at risk, which is defined as free and reduced price lunches. And the way this will be brought in over time, where you start out with 5,000 vouchers and then it will move up. If not all the slots are taken in the 5%, then other students in that same school district could be eligible for it if it got to that. And so basically, it's the failing schools and the most at-risk kids in there which would have an opportunity for a different environment that will meet their needs.
And then they would be able to, let's say they get approved for a voucher, they can pick the school that they would like to attend if that school is accepting students, right?
Right. The Department of Education would go through and approve the schools could apply whether they wanted to participate in this program, and the Department of Education would make sure that they meet the certain requirements. And then the students and the parents could pick the school. The money doesn't actually go straight to the family. It's just like a lot of scholarships, it'll actually go to the school that's providing the education. And I think it's important to point out that as we do talk about money, if you look at this bill, the way it's structured, not all the money leaves the school. The school will give up 100% of its responsibility of having to educate the child, 100% of the cost of educating them, but yet money will remain. The fiscal note says about $1,200 will stay with the school system. So you give up 100% of responsibility, but you still maintain about 15% of the dollars that are coming in.
Now, different private schools charge different amounts. You know, one private school may charge $10,000 a year, one private school may charge $1,200 a year. Does it matter?
They would have to take the voucher as full tuition payment.
So it's standard across the board.
But whatever that voucher amount is, that's what it would be. And if the tuition at the school is less, then that would be, the voucher would be reduced to that number.
And just because I want to make sure I get this clear, is the voucher the amount that the public school is paid for educating that student that you said is withdrawn from them? Is it the same dollar amount?
It's not. It's part of the BEP formula is the set dollars, and most schools have fund at a higher rate, and so that higher rate would actually remain in the school system, and that's where the average $1,200 come. I think somebody said Davidson County, like it'd be like $2,300 would be left behind. I haven't checked that out myself, but it came from a good source.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'd like to hear more from you, Representative Fitzhugh. Stay with us. Your questions and comments are always welcome as well. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.